it's not about the money for me. I want to live comfortably and not have to stress about bills anymore. But I think I can find fulfillment in the commercial industry by working with businesses that help other people.
Cheers.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Let me adjust this real quick. Hey guys, welcome to another show of the Choosing Purpose podcast. I'm Lucky Almazar, and today we have our co-host, Ashlee. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hi. Thanks for having me. What made you want to start this podcast?
That is a good question. So as you know, I have my own photo and video production company, and I saw this as a way to give back to the community, in particular small businesses, because they don't always have the budget to hire expensive, video teams and photo teams to make content for them. And I figure having them come on the show and share their stories and, just show who they are might inspire other people to want to buy from them. And, it'll just give them free short videos to share to their own social medias and things like that.
That's really great. That's really cool. What made you decide to go into photography and videography?
That is also a good question. So it started, I think, in 2015. Me and a buddy were just making home videos with our cell phones and putting them on Vine and just making stupid, funny videos. And then one day in 2017, I bought my first camera. And, we realized that it takes a lot of work, instead of just pushing the button and going, like we actually have to plan out the video if it's going to be successful, like if it's going to be a good looking, funny video. And, it's just more time than he wanted to invest. And so I was like, all right, cool. And, I looked at all this gear that I just bought. I'm like, how can I pay all of this off? And so I started making videos for my MMA trainer, Jermaine Andre, and just doing a bunch of free videos for him so that I can learn and so that he can have some content too. And it wasn't until it was 3 years after I bought that first camera when I made my first sale, because I didn't want to charge somebody when I'm still learning and not happy with the quality of the work, But yeah, with that first job, I actually paid for all that, all the gear that I first bought. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Why did you land on commercial as your niche?
Yeah. So like anybody that buys their first camera, I started off shooting family photos and quickly learned that it's just not for me. Because I had already been 3 years deep in learning and practicing and applying, and it's a lot more time to produce an image than one might think. And family photos, for me, don't pay the bills as much as commercial clients. And it's not about the money for me. I want to live comfortably and not have to stress about bills anymore. But I think I can find fulfillment in the commercial industry by working with businesses that help other people.
That's really great. I like that you want to give back to the community, and that's really cool.
I mean, I wouldn't be in this position without the people of the community, so I think it's just my way of giving back, like you said.
So what are some of your goals with your business or this podcast?
Oh man, I have had so many goals and plans for my life. I wanted to be a UFC fighter. Before that, I wanted to be a rapper, in high school and stuff like that. And yeah, of course I have goals like owning my own studio, renting it out to, other businesses and stuff like that. But honestly, like right now in my life, it's just wherever the Lord takes me. I spent a long time not sharing my faith, and I think I want to again. Mm-hmm. After high school, I was posting Bible verses on Facebook and just getting shamed for it, really. And so it just kind of made me hide my faith. It's kind of weird. But
No, I get that. And that, yeah, it's not right. People shouldn't do that to anybody for any of their faith, you know?
whatever they believe, you choose to believe it. I'm not going to shove it down your throat. You should believe in Jesus, even though I think so.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not going to force it on anybody. And I just think that, the 10 or 15 years I spent apart from the church, I was still able to increase my faith by, reading the Bible, sometimes not as much as I should, but learning more about why people think that Jesus actually existed. Videos like of Cliff Nechtel speaking to all these college students, like really increased my faith and is actually what led me and you to start going to church.
Yeah.
I just went off on a whole tangent. I forgot the initial question, my goals and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, ideally, if I didn't have to worry about money, I would like to go on these mission trips and, make documentaries and just inspire people to help others as well,
Yeah, that would be really cool. And it might be something that you can do in the future,
Yeah. Nonprofits,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in our church, they go on mission trips too. So,
I know.
I see that in our future.
Yeah. I mean,
possibly.
If we can afford it, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. What in your faith has led you to, how did you decide that you wanted to do this podcast and reach out to people more, discussing your faith and business at the same time?
That's that's a hard question to answer.
It's a loaded question.
Well, I mean, I don't care what. I mean, I care about you. I care about what you believe in, and I want to hear whether you're practicing. I don't know how to politically correct terms. Whether you're a Jew, a Muslim, Islam, as long as we can have open conversation and stuff. I think the main thing about this podcast is really about local business owners sharing their stories. And if, for me, I know my faith is a big part of my life. If their faith is a big part of their life, they are open to talk about it, and whether you believe in something different, I still want you to talk to your audience and whatever you feel. I've just felt like God's always been trying to get my attention somehow. I didn't make it as a rapper or a poet because, I'm not talking about mainstream earthly things. And I don't know. I just feel like if I keep running from it, I'm going to just be in the same place, which is just struggling to survive like many of us Americans.
Yeah, I was stuck in that trap too. And it took me a long time for me to realize that God was always with me. I wasn't, stuck in my faith. I didn't really have any faith, I believed in a higher power, of course, but it wasn't until I went through some dark times in my life and God pulled me out that I realized that God has always been with me. So I definitely understand that. And being more into my religion and reading the Bible and things like that, I just feel like I'm making much better decisions, and I feel like I'm in the place that I'm supposed to be now. So I definitely understand that.
That's awesome. I remember when we first started going to church and I started cutting out things in my life like cussing, when that was it was in every sentence that I said.
I struggle with that so bad still.
A lot of people do. And the more things I cut out of my life, I remember we were sitting on the couch and you're like, I don't want to have to cut all these things out. And I remember telling you oh, maybe I don't remember what I told you. But I said something like, when you, the more you get to know Jesus and God, the more you love him and you want to cut those things out of your life. Mm-hmm. And then the coolest part is you realize that all those things that you cut out, when you obey him, it's nothing but good things.
Yeah, they just hold you back. Like the things that I would want to continue to hold on to, they just hold me back.
Yeah,
you know?
like I mean, cussing, like I don't need to say a word to make me feel better. And if I use it for my humor, I can use my wit to say other things.
Mm-hmm.
And with smoking weed, like it's still hard for me to want to quit, but I think I should. Maybe it'll help me to clear my thoughts more and just say things more concisely, but it'll also help me save money and it'll help clear my lungs and be healthier.
Yeah.
I'll have more time to do things that matter instead of, let me hit this baddie real quick before I do anything.
Yeah.
So I asked Amy this in our last show. What is success to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I just want to be able to pay my bills and enjoy my life without having to worry about whether I'm going to be able to pay this month's rent or whether I'm going to be able to get enough gas in my car to get from A to B. And it seems rather small that I think that's success, but at the same time, like where I've been in my life, I feel like that's all I need. I don't need a lot. And I think that having God on my side and, praying and reading more of the Bible, learning more about him, it's just directing me to my idea of success.
That's cool. So you said you never really had faith, but then, recently you reflected and said that you've just noticed that he's been with you your entire life because he's pulled you out of this and that. I guess I just want to know, like, what makes you believe that is God?
Well, it took me a couple of years to realize it. And there were several different things that happened. And they were slow through that time. Like, my life changed drastically. I got out of two pretty bad situations and I was kind of forced out of them. And which was a blessing that I was forced out of them. And I was stuck, drinking and going downhill and, not caring about anything and just thinking that life was, always going to be miserable and always be a joke and this, that, and the other. And then after I got pulled out of those situations, I started a new job and I'm still there and I love it. Great atmosphere. I met you and, almost 4 years later, we're going strong and, us having our issues in the beginning and talking with our therapist and him being religious in a way also, and then I had a boss who she, at that time I was going through a really dark moment in my life and my boss was always there to give me good advice. Shout out Kat Falcone. And she was religious and we talked a lot about that and it just, one day you decided you wanted to pray before dinner and you didn't ask me if I wanted to, you just kind of like did it on your own, let me get into it when you were, or when I was ready. And, I decided I wanted to pray with you. I don't know what it was. It was just like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
That was an awesome moment. Like every part of my being smiled in that moment. Let me hit record on that.
Okay.
So you just got done saying you don't know what made you decide to start praying, but
I just had a feeling, and I wanted to do it, and we did, and then we started reading the Bible together, and then we started going to church, and the more I learned about God, the more I realized, like, God has been working in my life ever since I can remember. And I could have stayed turned away from God. I could have stayed turned away from him, but I chose not to. And my life has gotten so much better because of it.
Oof. That's deep.
Yeah. Yeah. So back to the task at hand. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced when starting out, and how did you overcome them?
Well, starting out, I mean, there is so much to learn, like with the settings of the camera, and then you realize, like, once you learn those settings, you need to learn all these other fields, you know, lighting, composition, setting, like how to edit, you know, because when you take a raw photo or, you know, log footage and video, you have to convert that to normal colors. And then if there's anything like you have to fix, because, you know, lighting temperature is different and all this, you have to fix it, correct it, and then put a color grade on it, or like a filter or whatever, you know, for your look. But, you know, I just dove head first and just like tried to learn everything all at once. And I think that's why it took me so long, like 3 years before I felt confident enough to start charging people. So once I felt confident enough, like, you know, that was the first struggle, was just learning as much as I could. And then I realized I have to learn how to talk to people and sell myself, my services, you know, and that's still something I'm learning.
Yeah, I mean, I think your work sells itself. You are amazing, and seeing what you can take, what raw footage you can take and turn it into something beautiful is just incredible. And I don't think I could ever wrap my head around all of the different things you have going on your screen over there and stuff like that. And it just shows how smart you are, and you were able to teach yourself that, and it's just really cool to me. I admire it.
I appreciate that. I don't think my work can sell itself, because we would be living in a house, just a house, not even a mansion, just a freaking house. You know, unfortunately, like, you do have to learn how to sell and market yourself. There's so much competition and everything, and that's why I want to help small to medium-sized businesses, because they're focused on working in their business, not necessarily having the time to learn how to scale it. And that's where video production, content strategy agencies come in.
So you mentioned something about marketing yourself. What do you mean by that?
Well, when you look around, like, everything is an ad. You know, you open up Facebook, every other scroll, there's an ad. You go outside and there's billboards when you're driving down the street, and there's people handing out flyers, you know, you're like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to turn on the radio, ad. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to turn on Pandora, ad. Everything is an ad. And, you know, with this age of like digital stuff, video has just it's like become the standard. If you want to buy anything, I think it's like 90 to 95% of people watch a video on a product before they buy it. What was your question again?
I was just asking about marketing, but I think you answered it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I have countless hair products in our closet right now, simply based off me scrolling through Facebook and seeing videos of, wow, it looks so easy to curl my hair like that. It's not. But I mean, yeah, that's definitely how to grab your attention.
Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, I started off as a photographer. I dove into both at the same time, but I think I've been leaning more towards video, because you can get so much more information out in a quicker amount of time. You know, like if you just post a photo on Facebook, you still got to write all these words. Like, you know, the post is important and stuff, but like to initially hook your attention, it's usually a video.
And that's helpful too, you know, like when somebody's listening to music and they're working out and a commercial comes on, well, they get to hear about something that they normally wouldn't hear about, you know, if they were just scrolling and there was a flyer with some words, they're just like, psh, scroll past it, you know.
That's how I learned about the hook and ladder. When it's out of just
Your favorite commercial.
I know.
So what keeps you motivated to continue to grow your business despite obstacles?
I think a slight delusion in thinking that I can make it, you know, plus a desire to just not have to work for someone else. You know, ever since I sold my first services, I was like, wow, that was a month's salary in, you know, however long it takes me to plan, shoot, and edit. And you know, and then just working like these jobs that I'm never going to go anywhere, making $20 an hour, barely scraping by, when I'm not even using my full potential. Like I can do so much more than flip burgers or make videos about hitches or light bulbs. You know, I can help businesses expand. I can help people share their message and get it out. I can teach them how to do those things. Yeah.
Would you say that it gives you a purpose over the grinding of everyday life, of just trying to make it in this world?
Yeah. I mean, that's probably why I've been spending a lot of my free time outside of work trying to make this happen since 2017. It's, if I didn't have this goal to aspire to, like these goals to like aspire to achieve, like what would I be doing? Playing video games all day like I used to? Just basically being a robot, you know?
Yeah.
Just going to work, going home, buying stuff because of the media, and rinse and repeat, you know? Like I would rather work for myself, and if we could just live comfortably and then like be able to invest, like you know, the Dave Ramsey's baby steps, like if we had enough to like be able to give and help others ourselves, like that's my goal.
Yeah, that's a really great goal. That is something that I would want to aspire to also.
I mean, it makes sense because like we both know what it's like to struggle, and it feels good to be able to help others.
Yeah, and I think right now, like even just being there for another person when they're struggling with something very difficult, that is, I don't want to say rewarding because that sounds really bad, but like being able to be the person that someone trusts and wants to lean on to talk to you about their problems, that just helps. It's just like a small step towards that main goal of being, I guess, wealthy enough to help others. And so, you know, I have the same end goal as you, I think.
That's what
long story short, I have the same end goal as you, I think.
That's what makes us a good team.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
How is your mission or vision? How has your mission or vision evolved since you first started?
Oh, you just came up with that question just now? Honestly, I think just getting back into my faith, and trying to be more like him and less of me. it's making, I don't know, it's making my decisions just more selfless. I mean, I think that's why instead of trying to use all my free time to work on my business, I'm choosing to split it up with this podcast and help others. And, before getting back in my faith, that's something I wouldn't have thought of doing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Thanks.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone looking to start a business, what would you say?
Never stop learning. That's it. Honestly, I always trace things back to mixed martial arts because that's where I spent like the majority of my first half of my life. It's just training all the time. And so, what was I saying?
So the question...
learning.
Yeah.
Right. And so after... Because I started training in karate at 4 years old, and then mixed martial arts till I was about 30-ish. I obviously have learned a lot, but even at this point, there's still so much I can learn. So no matter how much you think you know, there's always a lot to improve on.
Yeah, you can always strive to get better. And I think that you should always strive to learn more and more, especially of your own craft. I don't think anybody can ever be the best. I think that you have to constantly be learning and be willing to see what other successful people are doing and see if they're doing something differently than you are, and maybe incorporate it all in what you do,
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate
And
you.
I love you. You're my girlfriend.
I love you too, baby.
Well, I think that does it for today's show. That's all our time. Appreciate you guys for those who have stayed. And we will catch you in the next one. The next one is going to be Pastor Brandon from Redemption Road Church. We'll see you then.
He's our pastor. He's awesome.
Okay, bye.
Bye.